The first famous economics textbook was written in the late 1800s in England by economics professor Alfred Marshall. Its language may be a little old-fashioned, but the concepts are the same ones we still use: cost, benefit, equilibrium, and Marshall's great contribution to economics, marginal thinking. In his book, he wrapped all these ideas, and especially marginalism, into one simple story about picking berries, and that you stop when, in economic terms, the marginal cost of picking equals the marginal benefit of eating what you pick. Take a listen.
When a boy picks berries for his own eating, the action of picking is probably itself pleasurable for a while. And for some time longer, the pleasure of eating is more than enough to repay the trouble of picking. But after he has eaten a good deal, the desire for more diminishes, while the task of picking begins to cause weariness, which indeed may be a feeling of monotony rather than of fatigue. Equilibrium is reached when at last his disinclination for the work of picking counterbalances the desire for eating. The satisfaction which he can get from picking fruit has arrived at its maximum, for up to that time every fresh picking has added more to his pleasure than it has taken away, and after that time any further picking would take away from his pleasure more than it would add.
Now, Marshall's book was also famous for introducing the graphs of economics like supply and demand. And indeed, we can explain what's happening inside the berry picker's head with just such a picture. Equilibrium is often written in economics as MC equals MB. Marginal cost equals marginal benefit. So think of the price axis in this case as pleasure, or what's often called utility. The quantity axis is simply how many berries. The marginal cost curve charts the effort you make to pick or supply the berries. The marginal benefit curve shows the pleasure or utility you derive as a consumer from eating them. What Marshall taught 100+ years ago was marginal analysis. The first berry picked cost the boy almost nothing, but that very same berry consumed gave him a lot of pleasure. For the second berry, the marginal effort cost him a bit more. The marginal pleasure was a bit less. As with the textbook supply curve, the marginal cost is going up with the quantity Marshall's boy picks, or supplies, in increments. Each move up is on the margin. As for the marginal benefit curve, it's the same as the textbook demand curve because of diminishing returns. That is, each extra increment you consume of something, like berries, is worth less to you than the increment before because it gives you less pleasure, less utility on the margin. So for Marshall's boy, each marginal berry has a slightly higher cost and a slightly lower utility than the one before. And so it goes, all the way to equilibrium, which, as Marshall wrote, is reached when at last his disinclination for the work of picking counterbalances the desire for eating. So equilibrium is where MC, marginal cost, exactly equals MB, marginal benefit, or marginal utility. As long as the marginal benefit exceeds the marginal cost, consumption will increase because each unit adds more to benefits than to cost, until you reach equilibrium, the 18th berry in this case, the point at which, according to one of the most famous economists of the 20th century,
the extra sweat of exertion and sacrificed leisure against that 19th berry, and then you say, enough already.
Consider finally the act of buying something like an ice cream cone. There's already a standard price established by the market, so the marginal cost to any individual consumer is constant. Ice cream cones cost the same no matter how many you buy. But as with Marshall's berries, the marginal benefit or utility you derive from ice cream diminishes the more ice cream you eat.
Think about what happens on that first nice spring day after a nasty New England winter. You're walking down the street, you finally are able to unbutton your coat, you pass an ice cream store, you say, wow, an ice cream cone. Wouldn't I like to walk down the street eating an ice cream cone? And you go into the store and you say, gee, I'd be willing to spend $3 on this ice cream cone, and it's only $2. And so you say, great! And you buy it, and you think it's wonderful, you keep on walking, you say, that was so good, I'd like another. Only this time when you go into the store, maybe you're only willing to pay $2.50 for that next ice cream cone. Nevertheless, the price is $2. You buy it, and you enjoy it. Not as much as the first, because the first was really something after that long, cold winter. And now you walk another few blocks, and you get to thinking about the third ice cream cone, and now, I don't know, maybe it's only worth $1.50 and you got to pay $2 for it, and you say, I'll skip it.
We end with a comment made by economist Kent Ford, responding to an earlier version of this script. Some goods, like beer, or services, like a new song he pointed out, may have increasing marginal utility, at least for a while. We've all had the experience of disliking a song the first time we heard it, and then gradually learning to appreciate it. But after a while, diminishing marginal benefits, that is, diminishing marginal utility, kicks in for almost all goods and services.
One for me.
Or, in Alfred Marshall's terms, their marginal utility diminishes with each added unit of consumption.
Bam.